while I give everyone the possibility to join, I'm probably going to take a cup of coffee. I'm going to get the pigments I need for the work that I'm going to do. And we might be able to have a chat as well. But feel free to join in the meantime. Obviously, when you're not here, that will be quite hard to hear. Hi Sergio, welcome. Always good to see you. I'm just looking what I need to make and what I'm in need of actually, mostly. Ah, thank you. Last stream went unbelievably well, the giveaway stream. Looking at how many people joined and all the feedback and the reactions, and I have to say that was quite a great experience. But I think that's mostly because, I think it's also because I planned the live, so people were kind of prepared for me going live and choosing to join, or at least have an option. Now I'm live again without any notice in front. Let's have a look at the orders. The pre-orders are drying. There are some things I just got, and there's some pre-orders in there as well. Some things I need to print. Let me have a look. And oh, I see this one is sold out, although I'm making it already, so I need to update that listing. For everyone who's joining, welcome. I'm just checking which to some of my orders and which things I need to refill for my latest pre-orders that I had. Also, I am renewing my listing of my dirty blue palette. During the live, I had a question from someone during the previous live. If I made any palette or of some kind, and it's my mixing palette. So that is one thing. Those are 14 of my colors, and I was actually kind of playing a bit, playing around with this. Note that these dots are colors that I do have in my half pens, but my Indian yellow goes pretty quickly. These are still drying, so these are pre-orders. We have this is a dioxazine violet, and this would be ultramarine blue. No, ultramarine violet in there as well. I might make this quinacridone violet, or this one. I might make this quinacridone violet. I'm not sure. I need to look at that. But we have Perylene green in here, green earth. That's not my regular mixing palette. We have phthalo, a yellow shade. We have cobalt turquoise. These blues are all my regular palette, but I also added nickel azo yellow and benzie orange, as well as potter's pink, and nickel azo russet. Is that russet? PBR 23. So this is kind of it's not an official palette that I'm going to sell, I think. I don't know. I need to fill these and pack these, and then this is ready for selling, I guess. But this is something I'm kind of looking at. Maybe just giving it kind of an extended palette an option for selling that. That might be interesting. I don't know. In the meantime, I'm just going to make a cup of coffee. I've already said that 3 times already. Sorry about that. If you want to take a cup of coffee as well, please take your time for it. I'll be right back. Well, that's heating up. It should give me coffee when it's heated up, so I know when it's finished. Yeah, so that's, I also have kind of a stock of the 24 paint palette pans now, so if you are in need of one, just let me know. Seriously, it's always I don't know what I'm saying. Siri's always kind of, she wants to join as well. I think she likes you too much. Everyone who's joining me. So I'm just going to take a walk to my drying rack over here to see what needs some refills. Yes, we can do that. Dirty blues. Okay. Oh, these turned out beautifully. I know you don't see what I'm seeing, but this is dioxazine violet, one that I made some few streams ago, and this dried out beautifully. So sometimes with that paint it's kind of tricky to pour it, since it's kind of sticky after milling, but the way that leveled in the pan looks gorgeous. Let's make Vivianite blue. Yes, I have a bunch of pans that need refills. And I know everyone likes the mineral paints being made because of the noise, I think. I don't know. But these just need one more layer, so let's do that. Let me quickly look for the pigment. There we go, the pigment's there. Coffee is finished. So first I'm going to drink a cup of coffee and maybe chat a bit with Sergio. I think it's going to be you. I don't know if there's any others watching who want to join the live chat. Feel free to join. If you're just here for watching, that is fine as well. I'm not going to mix this with my coffee. That'll be a waste of this pigment and my coffee. Oh yeah, please let me hear your paint names. What did you come up with? And I'm not sure if I want to know, but just let me hear. Let me hear. Am I ready for them? Neptune Reflection Ultramarine. That sounds lovely. Are you sure you don't want to go for like um, genuine tears of Neptune dried and ground or something like that? Ultramarine shade. No, it's nice. As long as you identify it's ultramarine. There's too many mysteries going on in the paint making world as it is. In the giveaway I hosted on Instagram, Ultramarine Blue came out as one of the big time favorites in the comments. I have naming system: worms, musical terms, cools, space objects, Earth, dynasty names. Okay, but then let me ask a question. Neptune. Well, you were so there was a misunderstanding already. I was thinking about Neptune, the merman, not Neptune, the space thing. So there's a misunderstanding there. Because ultramarine from beyond the sea, so that makes sense that Neptune is kind of, yeah, whatever. No, but that's why what I said in my life. And please, if you want to use your own names and made up names, or for mixes, I can fully understand. But for single pigments, like I said in my previous live, I just don't understand why people would kind of make up like fairy tale-ish names, because it can be so confusing for people. And it's okay as long as you are clear what's in it and what it's made of. Um, but by just picking cute names for your paint, it's for people who just like the colors, that works fine. For artists that know about pigment properties, how they mix, it's actually quite important to just know what you're using. So like I said, names fine, but as long as you're always transparent about what you're using. And that's why I'm not like going through any lengths of thinking about names. I know when I would make paint, looking at my essentials mixing palette, the 14 single pigments. It would take me a longer time to think of names that I would be happy with than to actually make mill a palette and pour it in all the layers and let it dry. I think it would take me a longer time to think of the names. than just making the palette. So I don't think that will be very effective for me. Angel Tears. Yeah, but that's wouldn't that be more a very good name for a very soft whitish gold mica shimmer paint, in my opinion? That's what I would, you know, think about. Like I said, guys, I can see me and Sergio are not the only ones, so if you have any thoughts about it, let us know. If you're new to this live stream, or, you know, me streaming live, we're just chatting pigments, paints, colors, and, you know, thinking about or discussing what we do, what we love, our passion. So I think Sergio knows that, you know, if I wouldn't agree with him, that's nothing personal. He knows how I think about some things. So if you're a paint maker and you're watching, it's not personal at all, and I stand behind everyone who just sticks to themselves. You know, if you just if you are just you as a paint maker, as an artist, and you feel comfortable by what you're doing and your choices, then there's no one who could convince you to do otherwise. This is just my way of doing things. I'm making Vivianite Blue. This will be called Vivianite Blue. This will be sold in a pan that has Dirty Blue, my brand, on it, and NA on the other side, because genuine Vivianite does not have a pigment number, and NA stands for not applicable, so there is no pigment number assigned. It doesn't stand for natural or anything, don't be confused by that, it's just not applicable. I do have some very special pans printed that I haven't used yet because I'm just too busy with the serious stuff. Let me just call it like that. I have a, is this visible on camera-ish? CI question mark, color index unknown, because I acquired a lot of pigments from an old monastery, but also from retired artists who just collected pigments for their colors, and they got rid of all the labels and they got rid of all the information, and they had like buckets full of pigment without any name, and for some of them it's easily to identify, and for others it's really not. It could be mixes, could be single pigments, I'm not sure. And I won't try to investigate which pigments there are. They are. If it's easy to do for myself, I'll do it. But I won't send them anywhere to let them be chemically tested to see what it is. If I would make those paints, I will sell them as unknown pigments. So I couldn't tell anything about their light fastness. I couldn't tell anything about, well, I can tell something about tinting strength and granulation, obviously, because that's quite visible on paper. But otherwise, I'll just sell them as a index unknown pigment. Coffee is gone, and I will just start with the noise now. Hi Susie, good morning. Oh, I just finished my afternoon coffee. I'm just starting to mull. I just wetted it with the palette knife. I'm just starting to mull a Vivianite Blue. This is probably going to be the last layer of the pans that will be in my shop soon after. I have a shop update coming. I'm not sure when though, since I'm building on my YouTube, on the community, on looking how YouTube actually works. I mean, this is all new for me. Instagram is kind of letting me down, although the giveaway really kind of did a good thing for you know, the interaction with my followers again. But Instagram is kind of failing on me, I think, and I think YouTube, for what I want to achieve with the content, is just brilliant. If I wanna, if people want to look up certain pigments and they want to know how they are made into paint, they can just go to my channel eventually, because I hope to have a video about every pigment that I have, which is close to 800 now. I'll hope to have videos about them. I'm going to make educational videos more often, and not only on how to make paint, but also on different aspects about pigments, paper, pigment properties, you name it. Jacqueline, you get pigment from retired artists also. I cannot certain what they exactly have in my closet. No, it's for some colors. Be careful with that. That's all I want to say. I don't want to discourage you. Please, you know, if they are really nice looking colors, I'm going to put my iPad in front of me because the chat's open on there. It's a little bit easier. I have some really beautiful colors, and I'm almost certain that they are mixes, because I was in search of more ultramarine green pigment than that I had. So I searched through, well, Europe. I didn't like physically go all the way through Europe to look for it, but online on forums, and I came across, and I'm just going to take it because this is a beautiful color to look at for you, I think. I'm just going to look if I can quickly find one of those jars I found, and I really thought I found ultramarine green, but there's an easy test to find out if it's genuine ultramarine green. And those of you who saw me destroy one of the ultramarine swatches know how you can test that. Hopefully everyone can still hear me, because I'm right now kind of with my head in my pigment cupboard. Okay, so can I do this yet? I probably can. Ugh. I can give you a glimpse of where I'm going when I'm looking for a pigment. Let me just have a look if I can. I don't want to reconnect the. Let me just have a look. I don't want to reconnect the microphone, so sorry for the noise, guys. If this makes a noise, I'm just going to take the microphone off the stand, and I'm just quickly going to, yeah, so here I am. I'm now unhooked from my desk, and as you can see, there is my pigment cabinet. This is a cupboard that belonged to the grandfather of my mother. So my great grandfather, he made that himself. Just going to see if I can do it like this. Yeah, that's full of paper and swatches, stuff like that. There's some crayons and drawing material in there. I have a compressor that I use for different reasons, for 3D prints and stuff. So, you know, greens, blues, or violets, blues, earth reds, oranges, ochres, yellows. There are the browns, blacks, and whites, the toxic or poisonous pigments. This is my barrel with red ochre, and there's a bucket with yellow ochre, and there's loads of boxes that I keep all the boxes that I get, since I want to recycle as much as possible to send stuff to the depot where I'm sending my small packages to. There's toxic pigments in there as well, but they're all in kind of metal locked down buckets. And this used to be a cupboard that had pigments in it that I didn't know what they were, but now I'm using it for stock. That used to be the stock of the colors that I use most, but that's now just also stock. Those are micas, and that's pigment collections from Crema Pigmente that I have, and my spectrometer is hanging over there. So this is where I'm going when I look for pigments, and these are about all the pigments that I have. If you like this, please give this live stream a thumbs up so more people can see this as well. If the microphone is too close to my face, also please let me know, because I can't read what you're saying, because I don't have that in front of me. So this is my pigment world-ish thing, and I really like this barrel. So yeah, this is the small slab I was talking about, that I use for experiments, just, you know, where I can reach the pigments that I use most. There's fillers and other stuff there as well for videos that I want to make. Also different rough binder materials, as well as the gum arabic crystals. So yeah, this is that, and that's the cat that's curious. Hey, I don't know why she's here. She wants to join as well. She hears me speaking, and there's where we kind of sprout little plants for our small greenhouse that we have. It's in front of the window. It's on the south, so it's always sunny here. So I use my studio for our vegetable garden as well. Don't mix that up with the hazardous cupboard. Yeah, this is the hazardous one. I 3D printed this because I thought that looked awesome, and it kind of made it more clear. Also, I 3D printed these things, and now my alarm goes to red because someone was banging the door, which was me. There's a sensor behind. You can see it there. There's a sensor behind it that, you know, gives me an alarm and makes my light red. There's a red light as well, to inform me that someone was knocking on my toxic cupboard. But there's locks on all of my cupboards, which I kind of improvise, but they work really well for that. So there you go. Back to making paint. I couldn't quickly find the ultramarine I was talking about. Maybe it's in one of the drawers, but then I need to move the barrel, and that weighs about 30 kilos, and I don't want to do that right now. Just going to continue making paint. And this is, it's drying quite quickly here when it's thin like that. Let me just read the chat quickly. You have a list, Kathy, of paints you'd love to try. And yes, this is live.
Ik zou het niet weten.
No, Siri. Nah, you know the cat. My wife's at work and my kids are at school, so um, when I'm talking, my cat, wants to join in as well. We think, oh, there's company. I want to be, but she's actually usually just laying on the couch, and my door is usually closed when I'm making paint. Um, she's gone now already. She's a real cat. Okay, I don't get any attention, then you don't deserve me. I'm off. Yeah, it is kind of a chemistry lab-ish thing. I'll give you I will give a good studio tour soon because there is some mess still with the boxes and old books that I want to get rid of. There's a moving box full with I think around 15,000 printed pens that I sell, like half pens, not my branded pens, but regular half pens. I sell them in bulk also to some makers, so um, I'm printing them quite often. But I have my 3D printers as well as my camera setup, as well as my microscope setup behind me here. So that's the other side of the studio. I will show that to you soon as well. Yeah, loads of people have cats. And I noticed that most people in either the Discord groups or the community that... Oh, it's getting sunny here. Sorry about the bright screen. It's kind of trying to adjust here, but I noticed loads of people have pets as well, which I really like. When I was younger, I used to have dogs with my parents, and we used to have a cat as well, who was the boss, obviously. Or just as one thing, if you have a window or a studio or any room that has a lot of sunlight in it, don't leave your muller in front of your window on your desk or anything, because this can work as a great magnifier and just cause fire. I'm just sharing this. I have my mullers stored out of the sun just because of that. So safety is most important in no matter what kind of work you do, but think about the details as well. Storing a glass muller that is a perfectly sphere like this is just a magnifier here. If the sun is in the right angle, that can cause something to catch fire. So be careful with that. You own somewhat of a cat. Please elaborate, Sergio. Somewhat of a cat. I mean, the cat that you just saw was, that's a real house cat. Kathy, that's a good question. It is, which year is it? It's 2023 now. I started making paint around 2020, I think. But not as actively as I'm doing right now. I kind of didn't find my style yet. Let me just, speaking as an artist, so I was doing it more for fun, I think. Not even making videos that much. I had a video that went viral on TikTok, and that was actually one of the first times I made dirty blue. And that got a 1.3 million views within the first week, and then that stopped. I had a few videos that did pretty well on TikTok, but after that, I got shadow banned. I know people like say when you don't get any views, it's a lame excuse to say you got shadow banned. Well, I still was a teacher on a high school back then, and some of my students found my video and followed me, and later found out that it was actually me making it, since I never showed my face. But they didn't see my new content anymore, so I actually knew I was kind of shadow banned. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But you know, that's started making paint in 2020, and after that, I kind of I went looking for some advice from like paint makers that had a larger following and I thought were doing great as full-time paint makers. But later I found out that some were just actually lying about that. So they were actually pretending to do really well. And they, yeah, some of them really kind of tried to discourage me on making paint because it was an oversaturated market and I didn't make a chance, and I need to find another niche, and well, things like that, which really put me back, I think. After that, I just went for it, and I was looking more into pigments and pigment properties. I started doing little videos on my Instagram, a series which I called Pigment Fact Friday, which had a great following. So I did that every Friday around 1. I posted a video, or I posted stories on a pigment with some video examples of mine, of showing the pigment, of little texts with images, a little background history, a little fact side about it, like fun facts, and you know, that went pretty well. So from that point on, this needs more milling. From that point on, I started looking into being more informative with my videos, sharing things more. Also looking at more different single pigments. How do they mix? How do I want to work with that? And then I decided, and this was in the beginning of 2021, I decided that after that summer I would kind of quit my job as a teacher to become a full-time paint maker. So that was kind of where the regular line of paint that I offered got expanded. I was actually looking for more ways to, you know, see how I can interact with the audience. Looking for more serious artists to also work with my paint, or people who were very passionate about colors or color theory. So it kind of went natural from there. But you know, there were some things in my personal life, like there was an accident with my daughter that happened in 2001, at the beginning of 2001, where I needed to resuscitate her, which was quite traumatic for me. I shared it back then in my stories, but I think I didn't even have I think I had 700 followers on Instagram back then. So not a lot of people know this, I think. But that was a trauma for us as a family, but also for me. to do that as a parent. So that set me back months, unfortunately. But here I am. We're all doing great, and you know, I'm really happy that I started my YouTube. Since I did some lives on Instagram, but they never really took off. I did some lives on TikTok, but that was mostly kind of viewed by local people. They didn't really know or work with paint at all. But just because I'm Dutch, that was suggested on Dutch accounts. And here I'm quickly finding an audience that likes this niche within a niche. Now, well, I don't want to get too personal with this, but I have shared some things on my Instagram. We have 2 twin girls, but they were both born prematurely, 10 weeks early, and they didn't even weigh 2 pounds. So tiny girls. We had a very hard time in the hospital, but I put that away for too long as well. So I've been walking around with a trauma that was just beneath the surface, and that kind of took me down over the years. When that happened, when I had to resuscitate one of my girls, yeah, you know, therapy is the only option, and that was a thing that I postponed for a very long time, because I thought I could handle stuff my own, and quite clearly I couldn't. And I'm glad I saw that, you know, I got the help that I needed, and I know a lot of paint makers are struggling with anxiety or depression or mental things. A lot of paint makers have that. Oh, it's weird. It's weird that within this community, within this small community, a lot of that happens. For me, what's even weirder, I need to keep an eye on the time, is that there's loads of toxicity going on within that community. I mean, I know from some people, I know that they struggle with a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on, and still there's so much toxicity and so much competition going on. I want everyone just to be friendly to each other, help each other out, be transparent, share everything that you like from one another, and just, you know, mean it. Be sincere about that you actually care for others, and think that people deserve successes as well. But
Ik heb dit op het web gevonden.
seriously, Siri, I don't want your support. Really? You're way too late for that. Anyway, thank you for your kind words, guys. But yeah, it's been hard for me to talk about. Now it's a little bit easier. It's not very easy. I won't go into any other, you know, details, but yeah, I just want to say to everyone here and who will rewatch it, if you know, are struggling with things, get the help that you need. Get the help that you deserve, right? Whether that is from people close to you or professional help, just get the help, right? Everyone deserves to be helped and be their best selves, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. Do I have 2 Instagram accounts? I find one with a muller and one with paint pens. Okay, this is scaring me a bit. Let me just look it up. What's the other one called? I don't have two accounts. Sorry about the rough transition about, you know, the personal and kind of heavy subjecting and social media stuff. One of the things that I struggle with most is at the moment, and that's nothing personal, that's just business, is that people are copying things that I do, which is, you know, I can't really do anything about that, and it's not. I've done the art academy to become an artist, um, and people used to say, you know, um, imitation is the biggest compliment you can get. No, it's not. It is not. People can be inspired by you, and that's fine, and that's a great compliment. If you can inspire people, I think that's the best thing that you can do as a human being, or as an artist, or as no matter which line of business you're in. If you're inspiring, you are doing great. As long as you don't make stuff up to, you know, sound interesting, and as long as you stay true to yourself. But if you start copying others because of their success, and you wanna get a bit of that success by just copying one on one, that is just straight out nasty. That's not a compliment. That's just disrespectful, especially when there's no credits towards the original thinker of the idea or product or art piece. And that's why what I struggle now most with. Okay, but could you, I don't know who said it, Kathy, could you let me know which account? Dirty Blue Shop, at Dirty Blue Shop is my only handle I have. It's my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is at Dirty Blue Shop. Although this is called Dirty Blue Tube, but that's just because I like the ring of it. Okay, I'm now going to quickly show you a trick. I'm putting some clean water on my slab. And I'm going to put some paint. It's not just a little, but it can be like a little bit more. I just want to dilute this just a bit so it's like nice and fluid again. So if you want to know if it's ready, and you don't have one of those fancy Handmade gauges that I have, you know, these things, that's fine. You can do a similar test just by eyeballing it. But which one was the other, Kathy? Can you please tell me? I don't want others to be confused that like I have two accounts or anything. And I also don't want people to copy my account, because that happened to a friend of mine just this week, who was impersonated by someone. They copied their post, profile, everything. So okay, sorry. Okay, so you have kind of a spread out thin layer of paint. Just go over it with your palette knife. And the most important thing here, what you need to watch out for, is this, and I'm going to kind of make a circle around it, this layer. That circle didn't really work out that Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So this transition of paint, where there's no paint on your slab whatsoever, towards the thick layer of paint, this is where you can actually see if it's dispersed well enough. Right, so if you can kind of try out which angle works best for you. And now it's not focusing as I want it to be, and I can't focus by tapping on the screen. But if there's too many big particles, because I am making a genuine mineral paint, if there's too many big particles here, it means you still need some mulling. Yeah, you know, I like the sound of dirty blue. It just, you know, I think when people hear dirty blue, and you know, within this paint community, they know, they get, they remember that name. Like, I'm not atelier something, or not studio something, or not something's hues or anything. There's like loads of accounts with that, and there's nothing wrong with that, because some really great contacts of mine have a handle like that. There's already dry pieces in here. I'm going to scoop it into the pans, guys. But you know, dirty blue, just, it has a nice ring to it. I think it sticks, but yeah, if you look up like dirty accounts on Instagram, don't go down that rabbit hole. Just recognize my logo and click on that. Another reason I wanted to start a YouTube was that people can find it on Google. If they just look for how to make watercolor paint, or if they look up dirty blue shop, or dirty blue watercolors, they find, you know, what you're looking for. So, and since YouTube is the second largest search engine at the moment, I think, and I'm not counting like any AI things that do the work for you, that can be used as search engines as well. Good morning. Thanks everyone for joining, by the way. For those of you who are just joining, I just made, ooh, and I'm making a mess. Yeah, I just made a mess. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So that's a pan that needs some cleanup. And I'm going to fill it anyway. Yeah, no. The paint quality isn't influenced by it, but I'd like to have a clean product. There we go. That was all the paint that I made. I might have a little bit left on the palette knife that I can scrape off. No, that's not much. Okay. But yeah, about, you know, me starting to make paint. I just, you know, told about the way towards that decision. So I decided to do this full time, and I'm going to react to that, Sergio, in a minute. Okay, I decided to do this full time, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. I just can be honest with that. Oh, dropped 3 pens of. Let me have a look. These were all on the side. It's not the easiest thing to start a business and to think about all of the aspects of a business before you start, when you've never done it. So Sergio is asking for an opinion at the moment. So guys, please help him. But that I'll do it in a second. Just to be really quick. I think I'm going to think about it. Sounds good, but I'm just going to read it over a few times. But if there's anyone with experience, you know, as an entrepreneur or for a business, please, you know, DM me or send me a message or email. You can find my email in the info here on YouTube as well. Because I'm new to starting a business. I've never made a business. What I'm doing is I'm practicing what I'm passionate about, which is, I think, the most important part when you want to start for yourself, or when you want to share stuff on social media. Do what you're passionate about. And for me, it's not only making paint, it's working with pigments and rediscovering pigments, finding extinct pigments, ancient pigments, lost pigments. I'm not a scientist whatsoever. I don't have any scientific background. Like I said, I studied on the Art Academy, and color is just something I've been fascinated about all my life. But getting to know what pigments are, what they can do, what they were used for, and how they look and react in paint is just, you know, it's opened up a new world for me. And I want to share that passion in my product, in my lives, in the videos that I make, in the contact that I have with my community, with the community of followers that I gained. But mostly and most importantly, I want just people to enjoy my products, my content, and the contacts that I have as well. Positive vibes only, guys. So back to hello colors. Yeah, that's the question I had as well. Why hello? I can't really kind of connect that with when we're talking about paint, or especially, you know, the process that I just did. If Sergio's still here. But doesn't that kind of I get what you're aiming at, but does that kind of imply that the colors are that of what is actually needed to fill that gap? I don't know if it makes sense if I say that. Hello, hello, welcome. Since Paint in Hiding is still here, shall I show them what we were talking about yesterday? Shall I just do that in the live here? Do I dare to do that in the live? That's the question. And after this, I'm going again as well. So I have a piece of paper ready. So there was a discussion on flocculation versus granulation on a video that Painting Hiding did. I think you explained very well in the video, but there weren't that many examples of real flocculating paints to really show a difference. And ideally, I think for something like that, you want an example where you can say, you know, this is this and this is that, period. Art fill colors. What do you mean with that? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with either that account or brand. I'm not sure. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry. Hey, Zoe. So I'm just, or bye, Zoe. I don't know if that's a hey or a bye. Anyway, I'm just going to show you what flocculation is really quickly. This is one of the most flocculating pigments I have. It's the same thing that, you know, if you have trouble with the difference between cadmium red and ultramarine blue, I don't know why you should have a difference, you know, a problem with seeing a difference between those colors. But same goes, not maybe as extreme for granulation and flocculation. It is quite clear which is which in certain pigments, and other pigments might show a bit of both. Handprint.com says that ultramarine is a flocculating pigment, while any other brand or source would say ultramarine is a granulating pigment. Artist Creation notes that phthalos are naturally flocculating, although manufacturers add fillers which stops that effect from happening. It is stated in such a way, and I'm not reading it, this is just out of the top of my head, and it's stated in such a way that it implies that manufacturers of big paint, like the big paint companies, put additives in it that stop that pigment from flocculating. So, handmade paint makers, as myself, are not using additives or fillers, so phthalos would flocculate with handmade paint. That was a statement that was done, and that was kind of a thing that people walked away with. Thank you, Sergi, for Sergio. Wow, I don't know where that came from. Sergio, for that statement. Same was said about quins, and you can go to the video of paint in hiding. It's a video of granulation versus flocculation, and it was about the time, about the amount of time that a pigment was mulled, and this is just a tiny bit, and we can have a discussion if I just over the last minutes was mulling this enough or not. I have mulled this pigment yesterday for quite a long time for a video I'm working on, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or if I'm going to reshoot it. Actually, it really doesn't matter, because I'm just going to show you what a flocculating paint is once and for all. And I've kind of the discussion went so bad, and people just walked away with the stuff that was said. Why would people do that? Paint on the slab, and I'm just going to put water next to it as well, like plop plop plop. And I'm going to load my brush with flocculating pigment. This is PBK 11 iron oxide. Just have a look what it does. And please see what's happening just right in front of you before it's drying, but when it's settling, right? I'm just going to load a little bit more pigment on the paper to make it even more pronounced, but you can see it happening. I need a little bit more water for it though. It's raining very aggressively outside, so if there's a lot of noise, I'm just going to load this with more pigment, and you can just see that this is not granulation. I don't know if it's kind of focusing enough. Ooh, but Zoe, now you say that it flocculates, and then you see separation happening. So, because in that chat, we were also kind of, making sure that people didn't confuse granulation with separation. But I know that you know what you're talking about. But this happens when you mull it for hours. This happens when you mull it for, well, yeah. This also happens with paints that aren't mulled well enough. And it never happened, also not to Prussian blue, but it never happened to my phthalos or to any other paint that I'd used just such a little pigment that I'm just going to wash this off. I know I can make a dot of it, but I was just trying to show you here. I'm going to wet my slab, and it has also nothing to do with paper. Okay, so that's a very wet slab with loads of pigment on it. And loads of air bubbles. But look at what happens on the sides here. It's kind of you can see it happening here. This is a flocculating pigment. And this happens on the slab. This happens on the paper. And you know, this is a flocculating pigment. So I shared this yesterday with Paint in Hiding, like, and we talked about it, because we needed some kind of practical examples of what is flocculating paint, what does it do, and it just forms these aggregates of pigment, which has nothing to do with settling down on a rough watercolor paper as a granulating paint would do. Right, so yeah, this is just something I wanted to show you here, but I'm making a video about it as well. Since, you know, there were some statements being made, and I thought, you know, it's a shame that people say, like, there's loads of pigments that just flocculate, or well, you literally cannot get rid of this quality of the pigment. So someone said, you know, just add any filler to it, like a starch, to get rid of it. I made a very small amount of paint, like I did now, with 50%. I started with less, but eventually I came up with 50% dextrin and 50% pigment, and still it flocculated like crazy. There's no way of stopping this, except for using a binder that doesn't let it flow like this, and that's an acrylic or oil paint. And that's not bad. It's just a pigment property. If you don't want a flocculating black, or you don't want to have very heavy granulation, because some PBK11s, depending on the source, you have synthetic and natural. I used black iron oxide PBK11 from Crema. So some PBK11s granulate beautifully. It might be a very mild flocculation, but it looks way more than granulation, because you don't see the specks, you don't see it, but you see that settling down. That happens when you use a different version. You have ultramarines that don't or barely granulate, that lay down very beautifully and flat, almost like a mixed phthalo blue. It's still an ultramarine, but it has been processed during the manufacturing of the pigment differently. It's probably a finer pigment, or I don't know. I'm not a chemist, but I know there are ultramarines that granulate more and ultramarines that granulate less. Mineral pigments, if they granulate, it's beautiful, but don't mistake the pigment particles of a mineral pigment for flocculation. There's such a big difference between all of them. And yesterday I made this swatch. This is like a beautiful granulating ultramarine blue. There's granulation happening here because of the structure of the paper. My separating dirty blue. You can see yellow ochre shining through. The edges are dried yellow ochre as well. You can see some specks of ultramarine gathering here. You could say they are flocculating based on what the definition is, but that's not a flocculating pigment. This is quite a difference, right? So this is a flocculating paint. It doesn't rub off. It's not like on there and just rubbing off. This is flocculation in a very extreme way, but I think it's a very good example between a difference of a granulating paint and a flocculating paint. And if you use it in washes, like the part you see here, it might be confused with granulation, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm not stating what is what, but I, I try to prevent people from making statements on why it happens and how you can prevent things like that. Um, I can't prevent a cadmium from being an, an opaque pigment, for instance. I can mull it all I want. Cadmiums will always be more opaque than pyrroles, right? Um, I can make a wash out of it, but that wash will always be more opaque than a wash of pyrrole red. Same goes for granulation. If you don't want that, use lamp black or carbon black or a spinel black or whichever black doesn't do this, because this is extreme. But this is no granulation, this is flocculation, because it happened on my plate and not on the paper. If I look at ultramarine blue, you can see some, you know, kind of gathering around of pigments happening there. So I know why handprint.com says that's ultramarine blue is also flocculating. But taking another pigment that is granulating, like the latest red, Yintico red, is beautiful, soft, granulating paint, same as Potter's Pink. On the plate, they don't flocculate, they don't gather, right? This might do a bit, so I know why handprint says that. This might do that a bit, but this doesn't do that on the plate. And it does granulate on the paper. This acts like this on the paper, on the glass slab, wet in wet, as you just saw. When it's drying here, and I put quite a bit of pigment, like more aggressive flocculation happens to the side, where more pigment particles kind of gather, because, you know, the layer of paint went to the side. And this is also what happened in the swatches of Paint in Hiding with the natural browns I think you showed us. That's what happened there. That's flocculation. It doesn't happen in like washes like this as aggressively, but it was a good example, but maybe not the example that some people needed. So this is just, you know, me ranting about pigment properties and such. Also in a very nice granulating paint, the one I made during my live stream on World Pigment Day, Meteorites, a 4.5 billion year old pigment, which granulates beautifully. Anyway, if there's any questions, guys, I'll be kind of cleaning up around me for the next 2 minutes, and then I will be going as well. So if there's any questions, or if there's anything you'd like to see for a next live stream, please let me know, so I can maybe make that paint or talk about that subject. Anyways, I want to thank everyone who joined us for joining both the stream and the chat. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Apparently that helps me. And I'm just cleaning up around me a bit. I'll do a studio tour soon as well. So some of you who sticked around for a little longer, or joined a bit earlier, saw me showing off the pigment cupboards that are in my studio, and where I was looking for a certain pigment. Pigment I was looking for was a it looked like ultramarine green in the jar. As a swatch, everything looked like ultramarine green. It was a big jar full of it. But then I did the acid test, and I was disappointed since it did not react on it. And as you might know, ultramarine green with a drop of lemon turns highlighter yellow. So That was so disappointing to find out that that very old jar of pigment, it was like from the 70s, I think. It wasn't ultramarine green, which I really hoped for. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Kathy. The giveaway. Yeah, so I'm just going to end this stream like the last stream as well. I'm sorry for that, guys. I'm just promoting myself for a bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Is it? So you can win on my Instagram. You can win the box of pigments by Creme Pigmente. You can win the NYX Mini 2 sensor by joining the giveaway on my YouTube. It's the ochre video. You can win one of the 3 pens of these will be filled more. I'm letting them dry. Yinmin, Yintico, and NTP Yellow. The 3 latest pigments from these families. And you can win the grand prize if you are a customer of mine on Etsy. My latest invention, the brick pen. So I won't be making a lot of these in my life, I think, because I said before I announced it, I've been working on this prize for literally months, and that's a regular half pen. This is a regular half pen. This is 0.2 milliliters. This is 125 milliliters of dirty blue goodness. So this is what you can win when you find the golden ticket hidden in one of my paints as a customer of mine on Etsy. So there's 4 giveaways going on, and yes, you can win the 3 latest colors in my triad pan as well by just looking at my latest live stream of World Pigment Day and just leaving a comment, because I like comments. That's just very easy how to join that. And I'll be giving away 3 of those pens with the latest blue, red, and yellow. For those of you who have the patience to just keep sticking around here, you have my gratitude, but also I'm going to reward you for that gratitude because I made a little experiment with it. What we can do with Yinmin blue, Yintico red, and NTP yellow. They granulate like crazy. They're not the best swatches, by the way, because I made them very late last night. But there's lovely greens. There's actually lovely violets. The camera doesn't really catch it that well. And some peachy oranges you can make with them. So not the most vibrant triad, which, you know, can be expected from a very dull pink as a magenta, and from quite a quite an opaque blue. But, you know, they are quite lovely on their own and as mixes. So also it's larger than a dot pen, quite larger, almost a half pen. It's larger than a quarter pen. It's a third pen. What you can. What am I talking about? These are larger than quarter pans of it, and a quarter pan of Yinmin and Yintico will be quite expensive, and I don't have enough pigment of the NTP yellow, which will be coming my way soon for a regular line in my shop. Gunzai pen size. Now this is just a full pen. This is twice a half pen. You see. So a third of a pen of each. And you know, with these pigments, because it is, it's not maybe not the most staining, but they lay down beautifully, and as soon as you wet them, your brush is loaded with pigment. So a little goes a long way. Guys, hope you like this. I just showed you all the prices again. But this is one for the live stream. So check it out. Check out my other YouTube video. Check out the golden ticket video. And if you're a customer on Etsy, or if you want to buy anything, all the giveaways will be open for 2 weeks. So see you soon. Thank you very much for the lovely comments, and have a great day, everyone.